We will resume the hearing. This is a very unusual day. As you can see, the vote's still going on, but we should be able to have about 45 minutes or so we're going to have to conclude within that period of time before votes begin again. Minister Deng, if you want to sum up, so then we can hear from Minister Benjamin, and then we will proceed with some questions.
Thanks a lot, Mr. Chairman. Some of the few challenges that I want to highlight, the issue of Nuba Mountain and Southern Blue Nile, and there's a need for refocusing on it. And Darfur, we have a long link of Darfur, and this is going back to 1990 with the people of Darfur. The Council and the Assembly of the Southern Sudan stood firmly with the 1706. But the most important part is the issue of government of Southern Sudan. We know there have been a lot of talk about our government is weak, is not delivering, but I would like just to highlight some of the challenges facing this government. I think I want to highlight the very fact that these people who have been war for 21 years, the records on the MDG is the worst in the world in terms of access to health and education. The death of Dr. John was a big shock to the system. And we are supposed to establish about 11 government, assemblies, judiciary, and also organizing the SPLA. And we are expected also to participate in the government of national unity, and many commissions, and 15 northern states government. We are faced with people with high expectation, with no communication system, no policies, laws, or regulations, or qualified human resource, or even office space or accommodation to us. So this is, and then we inherited a very corrupt civil service and insecurity. And so these are the things which we're facing government of Southern Sudan, which was established in October 2005. So I think we just want to put in the context. Despite all these things, the government of Southern Sudan managed to achieve the following. We have now a functioning government is emerging. 11 constitutions have been adopted and are now operational. 11 assemblies are functioning and discussing the budgets. And we have judiciary established all over. And 11 governments are gradually functioning, are developing sector policies and programs. And we have about more than 14 commissions, including Human Rights Commission, Anti-Corruption Commission, and they are struggling to function. And SPL is being organized, and I think my colleague will talk about it. Now, what are the key messages? Now, first, we have to make sure to exert more pressures, meaningful pressures, for anti-CPA members of the NCP, of the National Congress, so that they talk peace and they should be made to believe in peace and to implement peace. Second, SPLM to be supported, SPLM as a key strategic ally in the political transformation in Sudan. The other one, my colleague will talk about it, the SPL itself, a real deterrent to the any violations. And then the other one is the scaling off of U.S. government support to people of Nuba Mountain, Southern Blue Nile, and ABI, because I think they are losing hope. The focus group discussion is indicating these are the people becoming so disappointed, and their faith in peace is fading out. And then immediate implementation of ABI protocol, because this is a protocol drafted by the U.S. government, and there is no any way that we can negotiate this one again, because it is based on your draft, that the ABI protocol. So we believe it should be implemented immediately based on your and with your pressure. We believe also the government of Southern Sudan is a key strategic ally to be supported so that they can address some of the limitations that they're facing at the moment, especially involving the issue of the diaspora and the natural resource management. I think, again, we want also to revisit your policy towards the options available to the people of Southern Sudan, for them to become an independent country, or with the idea that we have to make unity the desired outcome, but a policy that will capture these two options so that you can prepare yourself for the future. And I think a high presence of the U.S. government in the monitoring of the CPA, especially on the Assessment and Evaluation Commission, somebody who should be fully there. Mr. Chairman, thank you very much, and I appreciate it giving us this opportunity. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Mr. Benjamin?
Your Excellency, Mr. Chairman, Congressman Chairman Payne, your colleague Congressman Smith, we are extremely thankful to be with you this afternoon so that we can share together the problems of my country, the Sudan. Perhaps it is important that I really quote the importance of the Comprehensive Peace Agreement in the light of our late chairman, the importance he attached to that agreement. And he says, after concluding and signing that great agreement, he said, "We have had a tortuous and difficult climb, and now we have reached the apex of the mountain of peace. What remains down the hill is flat ground and a few humps." That is the Comprehensive Peace Agreement. He did realize, and he alerted us, yes, there would be problems, and these problems would be manageable. Secondly, I would also like to thank the previous witnesses, especially Mr. Roger Winter, the former special representative of Sudan to the Deputy Secretary of State, and also to Congressman Wolf. I'm sure they have, and they did cover some of the issues which are very relevant and important in as far as the CPA is concerned. Thirdly, Your Excellencies, I'm equally delighted because this hearing is happening at a time when the government of South Sudan has just opened its liaison office here in Washington. This office is very important because, in fact, the functions and the duties it is mandated to do are relevant to the strengthening of relationship between the people of South Sudan and the people of United States, because it relates to strengthening the Comprehensive Peace Agreement that we have signed, because it will be related to issues that it's supposed to establish, develop, and maintain good relations and cooperation with foreign governments, foreign non-governmental organizations, and associations for the mutual advantage in areas in which we would like the CPA to be strengthened, and that is in areas of trade, in areas of investment, culture, in areas of sports, education, credit, loans, grants, and technical assistance. So what I would really do is why we have come here to represent our people, to represent the people of South Sudan and other marginalized areas, as well as the position of the Sudan People's Liberation Movement. The Comprehensive Peace Agreement, as we realize, Mr. Chairman, was not only negotiated by the SPLM and the people of South Sudan. It involved our other partners, which is the National Congress Party, as well as the international community, which was a strong coalition which was led by the government of United States. So we have come here as allies that have committed themselves to bring peace to the Sudan. And we have come here to share with you what we have done as a responsible political party, the Sudan People's Liberation Movement, which is the leading partner in the context of the government of South Sudan, and at the same time, a partner in the government of national unity. We have come here to share with you that we have done a good job, Mr. Chairman, in the light of our background, a liberation movement that fought war for over 21 years. 21 years of the suffering our people have gone through, 21 years in which we have been trying to reverse the history, the sad history our people have gone through, the history of killing, the history of being refugees, the history of being displaced from your homes, the history of being hungry in your own country, the history of being enslaved, the history of being humiliated, the history of having intolerance to the religious multi-character of our country. And I think the things that the government of South Sudan, under the leadership of the present chairman, President Salva Kiir, who is inherited our late leader position, I think is very laudable that we must share. We have managed, we have a responsibility to give the dividend of peace to our people. And that had entailed, with our small budget of $1.3 billion US, this money was intended in order to give the requirements and the needs our ordinary people need, the basic needs of human rights, and that is simply clean water, simply good roads, simply education, it's simply health centers, simple security structures, democratic structures, and this we had to handle within this. We are sure the demand is great and tremendous, and that's why we seek your friendship, because the United States government and particularly the role the leadership of this country had played, beginning even with the former Clinton administration, coming to that of even Reagan administration, when the Bush Senior was the vice president, did take part in trying to bring peace into Sudan. President Carter has tried to do that, and now we have President Bush, who has done a tremendous job that has ended one of the most serious conflicts in our country. We believe that we have a common interest, Mr. Chairman. The government of South Sudan, with the SPLA as a national army under the government of South Sudan, can be a counter-terrorism measure in our region, within the context of our country itself, as well within the context of the region, knowing the neighbors we have. We are aware of what is going on in the Central African Republic, what's happening in Uganda. We're involved with the Law Resistance Army. You know what's happening in Somalia, in all these territories. So the Sudan People's Liberation Movement and the Sudan People's Liberation Army has a great need to strengthen the Sudan People's Liberation Army, because it is the only guarantee that the people of South Sudan have. We don't have any other guarantee. It is a deterrent. It is not to go to war, but it's to make the reality of peace to come to our people. So we are asking your assistance, because as partners in bringing about the Comprehensive Peace Agreement, we believe it is our combined responsibility to see that those who are the spoilers and those who are bent, especially the National Congress Party, where some elements who are extremist elements are out to destroy that great agreement. We are aware of the history of so many agreements that have been signed between the North and the South, Your Excellencies. And most of these agreements have been broken. What is the guarantee? We are aware of what the CPA tells us. The CPA guarantees that the people of South Sudan shall have and will have the right to decide on a voluntary basis what their future would be. And we have a choice of two, Mr. Chairman, either to maintain the unity of our country, unity in diversity, where there is rule of law, where democratic principles are enshrined, where the multi-party system exists, where religious tolerance is enshrined. And at the same time, if that will not work, there is the other alternative. The other alternative is that the people of South Sudan have the choice to opt out of this union. And I think it is the duty of the government of South Sudan, with the help and assistance of the international community, including your government, that we prepare the two options, so that at the end of the day, when the decision is made, our people will be in a position to realize that they could be competent enough to meet the challenge of the choice of our people. I must say, Your Excellency, Mr. Chairman, that the role of the United States and the help they have given us is tremendous. But we can go on and have a catalog of what the National Congress Party, who is our partner in the government of national unity, has not done to implement the Comprehensive Peace Agreement. Our leadership at the level of the party, at the level of the government, have negotiated to try and resolve these issues, but we have not had an end to them. That's why I think a time has come that our President Salva Kiir Mayardit was right to say, look, we need an international assistance in order to have the rulers and the National Congress Party elements in Khartoum realize the importance of implementing the peace agreement. We know the nature of the government of national unity. According to CPA, the presidency and the structures, we know the president of the country is controlled by the National Congress Party. We are aware they are the majority in the government, in the parliament. They control key posts in the government. In the light of that, we had a provision in the Comprehensive Peace Agreement which indicated that decisions, major decisions of the country shall be decided upon through consensus. What have we got? I'll give you one example. We had the issue of the UN troops in Darfur, where a clear-cut differences of position are. Our position, the position of the SPLM and the position of government of South Sudan is clear, that we are for UN forces in Darfur, for reasons which are known to us. We come from a background of suffering. We come from a background where we have lost most of our relatives, where we have destroyed, where destruction has completely left our territory, completely a land of destruction. And we realize that as a part of the government of national unity, that the capability to contain and bring peace in Darfur was not feasible. So you have the CPA, which is the nucleus, Mr. Chairman, for resolving all the conflicts in our country. And that's why the Sudan People's Liberation Movement and the government of South Sudan participated in seeing that the peace in Darfur, especially during the Abuja talks, the SPLM played a major role. In fact, my time is out, Your Excellency, but there's much to say. As we say in the liberation struggle, Mr. Chairman, we have been fighting for 21 years and had little time to talk, but I have 10 minutes here, which is too little to compensate. But I must say, we have come here, and I repeat, we have come here, and maybe to remind ourselves, Congressman Payne, that in our principles, in our Christian beliefs, we are reminded when we say the Holy Sacrament, we say, although we are many, we are one body because we share in one bread. And our Lord Jesus reminds us, and he says that knock and it will be open, ask and you will be given. We have come here to knock and to ask for assistance. And that's why we are here, because the stake that the destruction of the comprehensive peace agreement can bring will be a disaster to our people. And therefore, this is, as my colleague has said, it is really, as we say in Africa, it is the first cock crow that we are trying to alert you that there is more to be done in order to assist the government of South Sudan to deliver the dividend of peace and to realize the hopes and the aspirations of our people. And I thank you.
Let me thank both of you for that very thorough testimony. We are here to listen and to attempt to come up with ways and means that we can continue to be of assistance. We agree that the CFA was a document, as Mr. Winter indicated. CPA was a document that much time went into and much detail, and it was thoroughly done. And we are here to say that we would like to see that document, which so much time and effort was spent creating and so much blood was shed moving up to it, that we should see that the CPA is implemented. I just have a general question. In your opinion, what do you think, and either one of you or both of you could give a quick answer, do you believe that the government of Sudan wants to keep Sudan united, or that it would accept partition? But do you think that the government of Sudan might want to keep Sudan united, but to have it on its terms, the way it used to be? And secondly, if you have a general feeling of what the people in the South would want to see as their first option, a united Sudan with peace and justice, or that if it's a Sudan that is the way it was in the past, that they would have misgivings about having a united Sudan. So if either one of you would like to tackle that.
I will give chance to my colleague to answer the first question, but I will try to. Concerning the people of Southern Sudan, what is in their mind? We conducted with the National Democratic Institute, I think, 2 focus group discussions. One immediately before the signing of the CPA, and one after the death of Dr. John. And consistently, and also we have a center in the South conducted a similar survey. And consistently, we are seeing a pattern whereby if the people of Southern Sudan are to be asked today to vote, unanimously they will vote for separation for their own country. But I think this one should be understood in the wider context, because we have a certain blocks that we need to start investing in them now. Increasingly, I think our colleagues, the National Congress Party, is making the separation attractive to the people of Southern Sudan. Either they felt by signing the CPA, they have given away the South. So that, in a way, they are not investing so much in making unity attractive. But still there are chances because the SPLM itself, because the South is springboard for the new Sudan, and a united Sudan based on on equality, justice, and the will of the people. And what the agenda of the SPLM to what level will influence the general trend in the South is an issue need to be seen. But there are two things, especially the general elections going to come. To what level the SPLM will pursue the agenda of marginalized rural Sudan so that it can be in power in solidarity with other political forces. So you give a hope to the people of Sudan. And by having these elections and having SPLM asserting itself in driving the agenda of the new Sudan in the center, that will be a good, this is the time we can see what is happening in the South. Secondly, by having the general elections, we'll make sure that the marginalized rural Sudan, especially Nuba Mountain, Southern Blue Nile, Darfur, or Eastern Sudan, or even far north, having them in power is very important because even if the South opts out for the secession, then you could establish a very good relations. And I think that's why investing in the transitional area is quite critical because these are the people who are going to maintain the link between the North and the South, but ensuring as well that they collectively stand for the general election, which will ensure that they are in power. And by doing so, you are actually hedging yourself about the consequences of the outcome of the referendum. Definitely, the National Congress Party is not keen to make the unity attractive. Probably some of them maybe by having the agenda of the new Sudan, you are actually getting into the territory and you are limiting their chances if you go for the democratic transformation and elections. And they would like to see better, to see the South is outside outside the general context of Sudan. Thanks.
I think Mr. Chairman, you know the position of the Sudan People's Liberation Movement as articulated very clearly by our late leader, Dr. John Garang de Mabur. He had indicated, and that what the SPLM program has proceeded, and that the Comprehensive Peace Agreement to us created an opportunity for the SPLM to enhance the transformation of the Sudan with the help of international community. This gave the great hope of a new Sudan that must be built on a free, just, democratic, and secular system of good governance with multipartyism and popular participation of all our people. This was in acknowledgement of the reality of the Sudan's ethnic, religious, linguistic, cultural variety. It raises the possibility of a secular, non-racial, modern, democratic, and free country that must work to eliminate all forms of discrimination, slavery, human rights abuses, international terrorism, religious intolerance, and Islamic extremism. And that's why the Sudan People's Liberation Movement at the same time knows the sentiments of the people of South Sudan. That was our vision, and it's still our vision. It has a chance. And that's why at the beginning, knowing the sentiments of our people, their experiences as to what the forced unity had meant to them. Throughout the 50 years of so-called independence, Mr. Chairman, you know the First Anyanya War, 17 years of bitter war, of which we lost nearly 1 million of our people killed. We had a Addis Ababa agreement. 10 years later, it was dishonored, and we are on this second of 21 years of war. Our people had experiences, had associated the issue of forced unity. To them, it meant becoming refugees. It meant to them the killing, the bombing, and all the bad things that have been done. That's why the Sudan People's Liberation Movement had proposed a transitional period of 6.5 years. 6.5 years of healing, of social healing. And this is what we define as making unity attractive. Because unity, in fact, had been made terribly unattractive for the last 50 years of independence. And for our people in the south of the country and other marginalized areas like the Nuba Mountains, the southern Balloon Island, indeed have not known the sweetness of the unity of the country. And that's why we believe the 6.5 years, our partners in government, the National Congress Party, must change so that our people will have the things they have not had for the last 50 years. That they have their children going to school, that they have peace for the first time in their life, that they are allowed the freedom of religion, that they are allowed to have good roads, to have their schools, to have all the nice things that any human being needs to have. And that to us means unity attractive. And we believe these 6 years, if these things are done, then our people may at the end of the day turn around, yes, why not vote for a united Sudan where there is equality, where we share resources fairly, where we have the freedom of what we want to do in our own country, where anybody in this country, whether Muslim or Christian, can become the president of this country. All these issues. That is the meaning of making unity attractive. But the question, Mr. Chairman, are our partners helping us to make this unity attractive? That is the question. What we see, and that's why we are here, there is little attempt on the side of the National Congress Party in order to realize that that country can break up unless the comprehensive peace agreement is implemented in the spirit and in letter. And that is very important. And that's why we are saying, fine, we are a liberation movement that is becoming a political party, Mr. Chairman. And becoming a political party, we must carry our constituency with us. And the main constituency of the SPLM is largely, the majority come from Southern Sudan and other marginalized areas. That's how we relate to Darfur. That's how we relate to Nuba Mountains. That's how we relate to Southern Blue Nile. That's how we relate to Eastern Sudan. Because we foresee the possibility of a new Sudan where democratic process can prevail. But with the attitude of the present government, not particular extremist elements within the National Congress Party are making unity unattractive, which is a strategic way which will affect the vote of those who will determine. And I'll tell you, Mr. Chairman, what that right is going to be. They say the people of Southern Sudan, within the context of the Comprehensive Peace Agreement, are guaranteed the exercise of the right of self-determination. And that means choosing between a united Sudan or to opt for an independent statehood in the year 2011. That is what the Comprehensive Peace Agreement says. And because the SPLM has the agenda of New Sudan, that's why we say, let us give unity a chance. But I really doubt with what the National Congress elements within, yes, there are elements within the National Congress Party that see that are contrary, that in fact do understand, but a large number of extremist groups in them are coming out now in order to distort and in order to make the issues difficult. So at the end of the day, democracy, unity is a voluntary choice, Mr. Chairman. And our people will have to go and vote, secret ballot, and each individual will decide. But the policy of the SPLM is clear. We want to save the unity of our country based on democracy. But if our partners are going to proceed the policies where our own constituency will not see the sense, and as you know, you have Democrats here and you have Republicans. You have to do policies to win votes from your constituencies so that you represent what their views and what their aspirations are. We are equally facing the same. But unfortunately, the members within the National Congress Party are not assisting what we are supposed to do. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. What I'll do at this point is to yield to the ranking member, and I may ask another question if time permits, but I yield.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, let me say to our two distinguished ministers that your testimony is indeed a powerful reminder to the international community, to the United States, and to all of us, how important it is that we not take our eyes off the CPA and its full and complete implementation. And you are not only allies, but you are peacemakers, and we need to support your efforts as robustly and as vigorously as we possibly can. And I want you to know how much respect and admiration I have for your leadership. You have suffered so much, and yet you persist, you strive, and your end goal is a country where people will enjoy fundamental human rights, the rule of just law, and for that, I want you to know that you have my, and I know this committee's, complete admiration and respect. Let me just ask you a couple of questions about the role of the church in rebuilding. In Africa and everywhere, Latin America, the United States, anywhere, the churches usually provide not only a venue for faith, and I share, Minister Benjamin, your faith. When you were saying, ask and you shall receive, knock and the door shall be opened, seek and you shall find, that's one of my favorite scriptures. So I do share your faith, and I know the importance of faith in rebuilding, especially in reconciliation and in healing, where there has been so much loss of life, so much hatred and animosity, the 2 million dead, 4 million displaced. I mean, we can't even begin to fathom what that must be like to live through that. And to think that the same people who fomented that misery are now frustrating the CPA is almost unbearable, I would think. So the role of the church in terms of the rebuilding, are they getting the kind of resources, both non-governmental as well as from the U.S. and elsewhere, as well as your government, to bring the blessings of recovery to as many people as possible? Secondly, you mentioned in your testimony, Minister Deng, about the North-South Border Committee, which we all know is very important. As you pointed out, the demarcation is essential for effective implementation of wealth-sharing protocol, redeployment and withdrawals of forces as per security arrangements, and conduct of the next population census. And then you go out and point out that there is a lack of funding. It is inadequately funded, therefore it doesn't work. And to me, it sounds it's by design. This is not a mistake. This is not an oversight, obviously, and I think you would agree. Are we, the United States, is Ambassador Natsios, our special envoy, the President, the international community, doing enough to bring attention here? And what leverage do you think we might have with the government of Sudan to push them in this regard? And let me also ask, if I could, one final question with regards to the Southern Sudan Legislative Assembly. I understand that 4 laws were passed in December when the Assembly ended its current sitting, and that several other laws, including a criminal code reform, is under consideration. My question is, it's my understanding there's a lack of capacity. You need lawyers, you need people with legislative writing skills to draft the right kind of laws to make it right. Is the United States Agency for International Development, USAID, and our government, the U.S. government, doing enough on the technical side to make sure that draft laws, model laws that really have endured the test of time, and then with tweaks have applicability to your country, are we sharing that kind of information? Are we giving you enough capacity assistance so that the 10 or so laws that were pending before the session ended but were not gotten to, my understanding was due to lack of capacity, lack of legal assistance?
Thank you, Your Excellencies. The Sudan People's Liberation Movement, Your Excellency, is very clear and is very respectful of people's faith, people's religion, and have recognized the multi-religious character of our country. And that's why we have put in our constitution the issue of separation of religion and state, but guaranteeing within our constitution that every citizen in this country has got his right or her right to pray in whatever way he would like to pray. If you are a Christian, you are guaranteed the freedom of your church. If you are a Muslim, you are guaranteed the freedom of going to your mosque. If you are a believer in African religions, you are guaranteed. This has been one of the issues that we discussed in Navasha. And because we could not agree on the issue of separation of religion and state at the national level, we had to come down and agree that the southern part of the country shall have no Sharia law, and that the northern part of our country will continue with Sharia law. That was a compromise because it was a deadlock, because our concept of religion is a private, it's accountability between you and your God. The citizenship and the rights of an individual as a member of a particular country is determined, is the same, irrespective of our various religious divisions that we have. But what do we see in the national capital? In the Comprehensive Peace Agreement, we had indicated, and we have indicated, the issue of non-Muslim in our national capital. This is one of the areas where we would like to make unity attractive, because in Khartoum today, we have a large number of those who are not Muslim, a large number of Christian population, a large number of people who do not believe, who believe in their African religions. And this capital belongs to all of us. Like you have Washington, belongs to all the Americans who are here, irrespective of your various religions that you have in this country. But the laws of our national capital have not changed, which is a requirement and entrenched in our Comprehensive Peace Agreement. Yes, indeed, we still do have problems within the context of other parts of the country. Although in the south of our country now, the freedom of religion exists. Our Muslims are going to their mosques as freely as they can. They are allowed to build their mosques wherever they want to build them, despite the Christian majority that we have. But in the northern part of our territory, it is not yet free for our Christian churches to build churches wherever they want it. You will have to go through a daunting bureaucracy that does not explain why in his own or in her own country will not be able to build the house of his worship. So yes, the laws have not changed in as far as the national capital is concerned. The process needs more.
Do the churches, is there a partnership on rebuilding and providing humanitarian aid with the government and churches and mosques?
Well, we have, for example, we allow, for example, there are the church organizations which are allowed in order to carry out activities with the support and with the help of any other church organization internationally, and which can actually do whatever they can do within, say, in the southern part of the country. In the north, as I said, there are problems because the laws have not changed. And that's what we need to change. And we have been putting pressure on our partners in the National Congress Party. The issue of making proper laws that do not restrict other religions in our national capital. And that's where we think that the Comprehensive Peace Agreement is not being implemented.
Yeah. First, I think the first question, there is no doubt that we have separation between religion and state, but it is very important that to underscore the fact that the church played a very important role in bringing us together during the war, because there was a lot of division, but they contributed in building the unity among us. And it's a big recognition for that. But not only this, we are saying we conducted a certain survey, we found a massive increase in the population of Christians now in the South, to the level now the indigenous religions are actually, in certain places, are at risk. So there's a massive change of the phase in Southern Sudan. But even with that one, they play a very important role, especially in education. And we have established what is called Peace Commission. And this Peace Commission, the idea is to work with the communities so that to support the healing process, because we have a lot of hidden tensions. And the issue of reconciliation and reconciliation is a very important issue for us. And the church could do a very important role to that one. Even with that one, we have a ministry of Gender, Social Welfare, and Religious Affairs. And the idea is actually to make sure that we make use of these resources, especially the churches, so that we can so there's a very big role they can play. But we are at the very early stage of coordinating and working together. Because they organize themselves, they have what is called New Sudan Council of Churches, and so they have a good platform whereby we can work together. But definitely is a key ally in terms of delivering services to the people. And they did so during the war. Now, the North-South border, I think I just want to echo, is not the lack of resources, as you rightly put it. It's actually, as mentioned by Roger, a deliberate intention not to do it. The resources are there, but they don't want to have it to be done because it's going to be an issue later on if people of the Southern Sudan and the North after the referendum to say where is the old border, so to nullify whatever outcome of the I think what we have decided to do as a government, we have commissioned one of the historians to look into the North-South border to have our own positions. And probably it's an area that we may need a support from the U.S. government. And I think we talk even with your staff on the ground to assist us in providing an informed way of a position about the North-South border. Now, coming to the issue of the legislation, I think is a very important point. This is where we really need a lot of support. We have at different levels. Initiating the legislation within the Minister concerned, Minister of Legal Affairs and Constitutional Development, has a very limited capacity. NDI and then Republican Institute, they have been trying to support them so that you review all the laws, a massive number of laws that you need to review. After finishing from there, you take it to the Council of Ministers, of which myself, with my friend here, Barnaba, we had to review and look into the draft legislation before taking it to the Assembly. So even here at the level of the Council of Ministers, you have a lot of work to be done to support the legislation process. And then you take it to the Assembly, where also you need a lot of work to be done. But that is not the whole thing. You have also to link to the legislation at the national level. We have what is called the National Constitutional Review Commission. This is the commission mandated to review all the laws to conform to the CPA. And we have about 17 of them. In most cases, the National Congress Party, or because of our not being present on the most of these laws are passed without the interest of the South being catered for. Sometimes these laws are even not in conformity with the CPA. And it's an area also we need a support. Of late, the President reconstituted our membership in the NCRC, National Constitutional Review Commission, and really we need a lot of help in that area. And I think the other institutions like NDI, the Republican Institute are doing, but I think we need more support in this area. Thanks.
On the issue of the funding, whether the government of South Sudan has some funds which can be used by the churches for development. In fact, it is the cooperation that the government of South, but actual funds are not available. The funds are not there in the light of the limited amount of money that is available to the government of South Sudan in order to fulfill its commitments to the development in the priorities that we have. But what the government of South Sudan has is the cooperation and the freedom it gives our churches to interact with the other churches across the globe so that they could be able to assist us in areas like in education, in health clinics. And I'm sure there are very good laws, local laws within the government of South Sudan that gives the church the freedom in order to associate with the other churches throughout the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just have one other question about the commission. The ABA Commission, Boundary Commission. Now, the Boundary Commission has submitted its report to President Bashir, from what I understand, but the President has not yet implemented the decision of the Commission. In fact, during the second anniversary of the CPA, President Bashir stated that the Commission exceeded its mandate, but the Assessment and Evaluation Commission concluded after consultation with legal experts that the Commission did not exceed its mandate. Meanwhile, tension between the Ngunk and Dinka and the Arab Mizrahi Mizrahi is running high. Now, in your opinion, what can be done to address this problem? And do you consider this a clear violation of the CPA? And I think you did mention some other areas that you felt were, I guess it was Mr. Winter mentioned, that were almost on purpose not being implemented by the government to weaken the implementation of the CPA. If you could give me your assessment of that.
Yeah, on ABA, on the 23rd of, of December, I was there, and then I had a chance of spending the Christmas in the area, and I moved also among the communities who are returning from the north as IDPs returning back. I think ABA is a clear case of violation, and I think consistently the assessment and evaluation commissions, as well as the experts themselves, confirm what the government is doing, the National Congress Party is doing is not in conformity with the. There are two things that we need to look at. First, when we talk about a BA area, this is an area for the Ngok Dinka, well, actual Dinka Southerners. And the agreement has provided for free access of the Misiri, the nomads. The Misiri are nomads. They come during the dry season to access pasture and water, and they are not entitled as residents or the citizens. And in the agreement, these rights have been protected and provided for them to have free access. And what is happening is that the National Congress Party, especially the extremist one, they want to mix up that this Misiri to have the right of citizenship in the area, and by doing so, to dilute the right of people of ABA to determine whether they want to be in the south or the north. And that's an issue that needed to be separated upfront, because definition of a resident and citizen is for the Ngok Dinka and other residents, including some of the Misiri or the other Dinka or Southerners who settle in the area for a certain period of time. And the criteria will be settled by what we call ABA Referendum Commission, but not to be mixed up with the Arab nomads who are actually passing through. Now, the tension was ignited by the National Congress Party to raise expectation of the Misiri as if they have the right on the land. And that's the issue which is creating a lot. And in actual fact, the National Congress Party marginalized the very people in Syria, and they used them for the counterinsurgency warfare during the war, creating tension between the Misiri and the Dinka. So I think this is very important for us to clarify. The most important part is the reconciliation and the coexistence between the Misiri as neighbors of the Ngok Dinka. And I think this is an area that we can invest into it. And I think U.S. government, USAID is doing some work on how best these two communities could be brought together, and then to go into a healing process, and then the coexistence, and to ensure for Misiri their access to the pasture and water. Thanks.
Addition, Mr. Chairman, the proposal that the SPLM had proposed in our meetings at the level of the political parties, with the issue when the leadership of the National Congress Party protested about the decision, the expert view, the expert decision on the ABC border. We had suggested that it would be good to invite the experts into a panel where the two parties in their leadership would sit, and they would actually listen to the report, eyeball to eyeball, from the experts to explain to the members of the two parties in how they reached that decision. This decision has been rejected outright by the National Congress Party. Secondly, when you empower a group of experts in order to define or identify a problem, and especially when you have decided at the level of the comprehensive peace agreement, the reflection within the agreement, that such a decision that comes out of the expert investigations and what they find out will be final and binding. And that's what we have signed. So in fact, we see that this was a decision taken by the extremists within the National Congress Party in order to frustrate the implementation of the ABA protocol as a whole. But otherwise, the Ngok Dinka in the area had given a lot of compromises. They have agreed that the Maseria nomads will be allowed to come with their cattle seasonally because of the grazing areas that are within the Ngok Dinka territory. Those grazing areas were made available to them. There was no issue of that. Their free movement in the territory was allowed. The fact that the oil resource in the area, it was decided and agreed in the wealth sharing part of the CPA that 2% of the oil that comes out of a BA area will go to the Arab nomads who come into that territory. So their needs were catered for. But what we see is that ABI is being used by certain extremists within the National Congress Party in order to destroy the Comprehensive Peace Agreement as a whole. Because ABI decision and ABI protocol was a red line in as far as our negotiations and Navasha were concerned. It was when we had agreed on ABI, and it was when the United States government intervened as a neutral body to try and work out the protocol, that we were able to finally include the ABI protocol within the Comprehensive Peace Agreement. So it is a red line, Mr. Chairman. That has brought peace because of what it had indicated in its protocol. And if that is not again implemented, that is a danger to the Comprehensive Peace Agreement itself.
Thank you very much. Mr. Smith?
Thank you very much. Let me just ask one final question. We have many, I'm sure our chairman does as well, but the time is getting late. If I could ask, what steps are you taking to peacefully resolve the issue with the militias that have declared for the Sudanese armed forces but remain in the south and are not being integrated into the Northern Army? And do you plan to continue your involuntary disarmament program when the dry season resumes?
Congressman Smith, the SPLM and the government of South Sudan has gone a long way to resolve the issue of some of the militias according to what the Comprehensive Peace Agreement tells us. In that exercise, we were able to allow into the SPLA the militia groups that opted to join the SPLA. And in that area, in fact, up to 40,000 troops, which were a part of the government militia, which was used against the SPLA, we were able to forgive and absorb these elements within the SPLA. Some of them now are in the SPLA as a national army based in the south. Some have gone into the police. Others have gone through the DDR program. The government on its side maintained that 40,000, of which 20,000 they had deployed them elsewhere, but up to now we still have 20,000 militia that the government has allowed and are wreaking havoc, causing instability in the south of the country. And according to the agreement, these militias are supposed not to exist as from the 9th of July 2005. We are now into 2 years that the Sudan Armed Forces is still maintaining these troops, these militia groups, arming them, giving them salaries, giving them food, give them sanctuary. After they cause havoc, they retreat into the Sudan Armed Forces control areas. And that's why we say the Comprehensive Peace Agreement, in as far as the security arrangement is concerned, our partners, the National Congress Party, has not gone to what the agreement says. And that's why we are alerting the international community that help us reach this agreement, that they must be made accountable to what they are doing.
Maybe I think we need to, the DDR program I think is very important for us. What is happening now, even the other militias that have joined the SPLA, the number is exceptionally high. We have, for example, one group, we are now screening them about 45,000, which is actually disproportionately is giving us a very high size of the army. And that's why the DDR program is quite important for us, so that you can scale down and have a very sizable size of the SPLA. But even if the National Congress Party could sit with us, and then we sit together so how best we can overcome the issue of militias together, it would have been better. But now they talk about this one, and then suddenly and I think, as mentioned earlier, a deliberate intention of undermining the performance of the government of Southern Sudan.
Well, let me say that we really appreciate, we could go on and on because there are so many issues that we'd like to talk about, the recommendation that Dr. Garang left about having for Darfur the 10,000 SPLA, 10,000 government of Sudan, and the 10,000 from outside. A number of issues that still we could discuss. However, we will be having another vote soon. I certainly would like to thank both of you for this very comprehensive testimony. As I indicated, the various documents will be included in the record. I just saw that Ms. Sheila Jackson Lee has come back, but we'll yield 5 minutes. We do have to conclude.
Chairman, I won't take 5 minutes. Thank you very much. I was in a Texas delegation meeting, and I apologize for being delayed. But as I started this hearing, I could not think of a more important briefing and hearing to start this Congress off with other than to confront the issue head-on regarding Sudan. I'm a new member to the committee, and so I look forward to engaging you, but certainly just briefly so that you know, even in not being on the committee, that I've already experienced some of the challenges of getting into Sudan, having to walk across the border from Chad, which I did in order to come in and see at least some of the issues that we're confronting. I simply want to pose one question because I know that a lot of what I would have asked has been asked. I have been somewhat convicted, if you will, convinced of the potential separation or the establishment of Southern Sudan as an independent, freestanding nation. My question to both ministers would be, very briefly, what, in your opinion, is the best role for the United States as relates to the securing of Southern Sudan?
Thank you very much, Congresswoman Jackson. We are very delighted and very thankful for your concern for the plight of our people, and we sincerely thank you for that. We believe the United States government can assist to see that the comprehensive peace agreement is implemented in spirit and letter, and to use its influence to see that the international coalition, of which that contributed a lot for us to reach an agreement to bring peace to our country, actually pushes to a positive end, that the comprehensive peace agreement is the only way out to resolve the issue of the Sudan. Two, we have in that agreement a provision in as far as the issue of the right to self-determination to the people of South Sudan is concerned. That right is guaranteed in the Comprehensive Peace Agreement, is guaranteed in our Constitution, and it says that let us give the unity of the Sudan a chance. And how do we do that? We have 6.5 years in which the unity should be made attractive. In fact, we joke in our country that if a gentleman or a beautiful woman needs to be married quickly, there are a few things you have got to do to look attractive, a bit of lipstick and that sort of thing. That's what we say. So we are saying that let us make the unity of our country attractive, because what unity had meant to the people of South Sudan has been bombing, has been becoming refugees. You have a large number of lost boys in this country. They were forced into exile because people were fighting to maintain the unity. So unity to our ordinary people has meant killing, had meant death. So the 6 years should give us a chance to redress this. And what we are seeing is that our other partners are not helping to make that unity attractive. So the two choices, either to keep our country united, in unity in diversity that recognizes our plurality in our various religions, in our various cultures and languages, in our various preferences of life, we would still say that maybe we can live together once we have a democratic process in our country. And where the SPLM is giving chance to that. At the same time, the people of the South are given the option that this unity, if it is not made attractive enough to change their concept of what it had meant to them throughout their suffering, then they have the option of opting out of that union. And that's why we're telling the United States, you should help and prepare for the two options. So that if at the end of the day people vote for a united Sudan, then they will have to be prepared, they will have been prepared in order to face the new challenge. At the same time, should the opposite, the other scenario happen, then you would still have a peaceful territory in that part of the world. So the two options will have to be assisted until the people of the South are given the right through an international supervised referendum to cast their vote and determine their future. Thank you.
Well,
Mr. Deng?
Yeah. I think that's a very important question you have posed. I think let us look at this way. The most important thing is to have a sustainable institution of governance in the Sudan. And that one will ensure the sustainability of the decisions of the people of Southern Sudan. And one way of looking at it is engaging the US government to be engaged effectively in the democratic transformation in the center. Because by doing so, you will be empowering the rural Sudan to be in power through elections. For example, Nuba Mountain, Darfur, Southern Kordofan, Southern Blue Nile, Eastern Sudan, and the South together, they engage in this democratic transformation. And by doing so, we are actually addressing the center and empower them, let them be in the seat of the government. Now the South will have a decision later on to decide whether to be in the United Sudan or to be off its own. Now, what is required from the US government is the thinking around looking at this Southern Sudan as a country emerging. That will require a certain intervention and certain infrastructure. For example, your presence in Juba, you need to scale it up in such a way to look to the needs of these nations coming up as a country. And looking at the relationship between the North and the South, especially on issues of trade, issues of linkages between the North and the South, and particularly the transitional zones, the Nuba Mountain, Southern Blue Nile, and even Darfur. Because you need to have this relationship, even if the South opts to secede, so that you can have a smooth cessation rather than antagonistic. Possibly, it could go to violence if it is not handled properly. And that's why the mindset, if it is set in such a way, South is going to succeed, then you could have a lot of things that you need to. So this is the way I would like to look at it, enhancing the relationship as from now between the North and the South. Look at the South as a country that is going to emerge sooner or later. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I, again, reinforce my earlier comments. We couldn't have gotten a more straightforward, and roadmap has been overused, but pathway or indicators, if you will, for the questionable status of the CPA and the issues of Southern Sudan as it relates to the Khartoum government. I hope that there will be an opportunity in this committee. I know that in many other committees that I've had the privilege of serving, it's been a difficult journey to get anyone from the Khartoum government to respond by way of being a witness, but maybe we can be miraculous. And that is beyond the ambassador or the person who represents Sudan here in the United States, so that there can be some rational understanding of why we're in the position that we're in today when we had this well-worked CPA. So I know that we're trying to be problem solvers here, and I want to thank the chairman and the ranking member for having the kind of commitment, in-depth commitment to this issue. Mr. Chairman, you know that there is a new Speaker of the House, happens to be a woman, and she has a tendency to hold her hand up in a powerful look. I won't do it in this committee, but I'm ready to put the boxing gloves on and get this job done. And I'm delighted to be part of the subcommittee led by Mr. Payne and Ranking Member Smith. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your contributions. Thank you, Mr. Smith. Let me thank Minister Deng, Minister Benjamin for your very thorough testimony and the written material, and we have already entered into the record with unanimous consent some of the documents that have been requested. We also have a request for unanimous consent to enter into the record the Sudan recommendations of the United States Commission on International Religious Freedom, and that will also be included into the record to make it thorough. I might just say in parting that we feel that until the government of Sudan stops its killing and murdering and raping and maiming, till the government of Sudan stops its lying and its continued diverting the implementation of either the Darfur peace accord or the comprehensive peace agreement, in my opinion, that government is an illegitimate government and does not deserve the right to come before this committee. We cannot dignify people who have blood dripping on their hands. Someone has to talk to them. That's what diplomats are for. We're not diplomats, we're legislators, and as long as I'm chairman of this committee, the government of Sudan is not welcome until they show that they are a government of their people and for their people. The meeting stands adjourned.